Good day, LML4807 student. I am Michelle Kukamur, one of your lecturers for banking law. Today we are going to provide feedback to your assignment 1, and we hope that you'll enjoy the video recording. Now, as part of your assignment 1, we had a question 1 and a question 2. In question 2, we provided you with a mix and match question, where we took a line from a case and then requested you to match it to a specific case name, and then also provide us with the paragraph or page number where you found the answer. Then in our second question, we said, okay, use one of those 5 cases and provide us with a case discussion. Now, as part of our question, we asked that you use specific headings, namely your facts, issues, and the decision of the court. Just as a side note, when we marked your assignments, we saw that some of you did not use these headings. We didn't penalize you for that, but in the exam, please take note that we award marks according to your heading. So if you do not provide a specific heading, you will not obtain the marks in the examination. Now let's get started with the discussion of the model answer. Your first case was that of First Rand Bank versus Shalsa Publications. Now, when I start this discussion, I want you to take note of the following. Some of your case law, you would have seen that there were no numbered paragraph number. See here where we refer to the 20, and they would only have had a page number. Unfortunately, that's how some of the cases are reported by the law publishers. So when we ask you to provide a paragraph or a page number of where you found the answer, it is not up to you to go and count the paragraphs and assign your own number. It is for us to see a pre-assigned paragraph number. So what I'm saying is that if you had a case, and we'll come to a few examples a bit later, where there were no paragraph numbers, you use the page number. Okay, so for the First Rand Bank case, the answer was quite easy. You would have found the answer in your paragraph 20, or if you referred to page 598, we also awarded your mark. A good indication of where to find an answer like this is usually reading the head note of a case first, because the head note gives you a summary of the case. And in most of the recently recorded case law, in the head note, you in any case get the paragraph number or the page number where the court answered a specific legal question. So this should be fairly easy for you to determine. Then getting to the Durr versus Absa Bank case. Here is an example of a bit of an older case, and here you can exactly see what I meant with having case law with no numbered paragraphs. So what do you do if you need to provide me with an answer? You quote the page number. So see here, for example, it would have been page 464, but I also awarded marks for some of you who quoted page 460. So here, what was the crux of the matter? What type of skill are we looking at when we apply the test? It would be that of regional manager. Then our next case, Absa Bank versus Hanley. Here you can again see we are dealing with a more recent case. So 2014. So what do we have? Paragraph numbers. So here, most of you got this answer correct, that it was paragraph 25. Now this is an example of a fairly older case, and here you immediately have seen what I referred to when you read the head note of this specific case, that you could find the answer already in the head note. Now, just a word of caution. Some of you told us that you found the answer in the head note. Now the head note is a summary of the case. What we are looking for is where in the actual case did we have the specific paragraph being written. So just be careful of that when answering your questions. Your head note is your summary, not the actual case. Now here you would have seen that the exact answer we found on page 711 and specifically paragraph D. Now because this is an English case, this is the way that the English cases are prepared, where you would have a page number and their paragraphs are numbered to the left side. That's why we said it's 711 and then paragraph D. But for this question, I allowed a lot of leniency. So most of you would have in any case gotten a mark here if you gave me a page number, because this was a very difficult case to read. So we were extremely lenient in awarding this half mark here. Then when we talked about Nissan versus Marnitz, again, a more recent case, so I would say after the 2000s. So you would have numbered paragraph numbers here. So here we would have found the exact answer in paragraph 23, but some of you would have also seen I awarded marks for paragraph 24. So here you could see almost the exact quote at the end of paragraph 23. Again, something or a hint where you're going to find the answer you can find in the head note of a specific case. Some of you refer to it as an abstract, and that's not the correct terminology you use. When we talk about case law and refer to the summary of the case, the correct terminology you use is the head note of the case. Okay, so now I've given you the answers to your mix and match, and we've asked you then to discuss one of the cases. Now again, some of you discussed any of your prescribed cases, and unfortunately I couldn't award a mark for that because the question was very specific. Now just a word of caution here again. Some of you would have lost a lot of marks, and the reason being is that you copy and pasted from a source, or you copied and pasted and tried to do a fine replace of some of the words, but your sequence remained exactly the same as the summary. Now you're asking why I picked this up, and I've got a sneaky suspicion you might have had a previous tutorial letter, and that previous tutorial letter was drafted by myself. So I could immediately see if a sequence of a discussion was actually my own words. So when you do an assignment like this, we do it for a very specific purpose, that you need to learn to read a case. That is a skill when you leave your law studies behind one day. That's going to be important if you're a legal practitioner, because you have to be or be in a position to read your case law or find the answer quite quickly. And if you don't have that skill, then you're going to waste a lot of time in doing your legal research. So rather just develop the skill now and practice it and become perfect at it. So there's usually a very specific sequence in how you discuss a case, and everything links together. In your facts, you must always remember that you include facts that you know that you can see from that facts there's a specific legal issue that's going to come through. Then your legal issue or question is generally what issue of law did the court have to examine in your case. Okay, so what you then do when you move on to the decision of the court is that you look at this legal issue, and then you know this is the question the court's going to ask and answer. So the asking of the question comes in the legal question, and then the answering comes when you discuss your court case. So see how everything flows. Your facts, you give the facts back that it presents some sort of legal issue. Then you tell me what the legal issue is, so what must the court answer? And then in your decision, you answer that legal question. See how everything ties together. Now, when I ask for the decision of the court, I actually mean the judgment. So it's not telling me the application was dismissed, cost of counsel. I want to know how the court applied the law to the set of facts. Now, can you see how, again, it goes back to discussing the relevant facts of a case? Now, I'm going to use this example because this is an example many of you already had at your disposal, especially if I saw that you copy and pasted from a specific answer. Now, when we talk about the First Rand Bank case, we firstly realize this case relates to an interdict that First Rand Bank is asking for against an article that would have been published in Noseweek, a magazine which I don't think exists anymore. Now, Noseweek published a series of articles, and in those articles they made reference to unusual practices and suggested that First Rand Bank directors and subsidiaries might be involved in money laundering. This article also then referred to an illegal scheme involving some of First Rand's clients. And now First Rand wants to get an interdict to prevent Noseweek to publish a further article, and in that article Noseweek intends to name some of the names of First Rand Bank's clients. Okay, so we got the picture now. It's a request for an interdict. First Rand Bank is asking for that interdict. It's against a publication of a further article where Noseweek is going to name some of First Rand Bank's clients who would be involved in these alleged illegal schemes. Okay. Now there can be different legal issues here. The most important for this court was first to decide on the one of locus standi, or the capacity to litigate. So if a party usually does not have locus standi, then this case stops there. You can't bring, there's no point in arguing the merits. But this court did go a bit further in discussing the merits. Now, we awarded a mark when you discussed the concept of locus standi. And then we also awarded a mark for some of you who mentioned something on the confidentiality or the confidential nature of the bank-customer relationship. However, if you only wrote down bank-customer relationship, how on earth would we know exactly what the legal question was the court would examine? So in some of your answers, I would have said, add a bit more detail. Or what about the bank-customer relationship? What about the confidentiality? We need a bit more because remember, this is a complete question that the court needs to answer. So if you just say confidential nature of a bank-customer relationship, it's not enough to tell us what this court had to decide on. Add a bit of detail. Okay, now, you know you have to link to the issue of confidentiality, firstly, but then also you have to link to the locus standi issue. So you have to discuss or find that part of the court's decision where they discuss what's the nature of the bank and customer relationship. You know it's confidential. So a bank observes confidentiality towards its customers. Where does that come from? It comes from the contract of that's concluded between the court, between the client and the bank. So a lot of you wrote ex contractu, but you had no idea what this would actually mean. So where does this legal right come from? It originates in the contract concluded between the bank and its customer. Now, you also find then sometimes that confidentiality relates to public policy. And then you ask yourself, okay, but this interdict that the bank's now looking to establish, are they protecting their right or the right of the client? So that is where it comes to the next element of that case, where the court said that the privilege not to have your personal information disclosed actually lies with the client, not the bank. So keep that in mind when we come to the issue of locus standi. Now, in this next part, we look at firstly the locus standi issue from what would the first round bank need to actually establish that locus standi. Now, remember, we are now dealing with a sort of a class action. So then you have to ask yourself, do we have a class action under common law or under the Constitution, for example? Now, immediately you know we don't really have one under common law, but there is something under the Constitution in our section 38. And for this, or for first round to rely on the specific section of the Constitution, we must establish that there's actually a right that's being infringed. Now, in this case, we know that the question is then asked, but which right in the Constitution are we dealing with? So we're dealing with the right of privacy, and that's your section 14. And if you read further through the case, you would have seen that the court specifically said the mere fact of a name of a client being published, so an article saying this person is a client of a bank, does not in itself infringe on the right of privacy. So there we don't comply with one of the first elements or tests that would allow first RAND to then use section 38 to institute the class action. So on that basis alone, their application would fail because they would have had no locus standi to institute the class action in terms of the Constitution. Okay, so that is how you now see how the facts, our legal issue, and then our decision fits together. There's a sequence of events that you need to discuss. And I don't know about you, but for me, the law actually becomes interesting in the facts. So if you don't read your case law and learn about the facts of that case, you are missing an exciting part of your work. Because some of these facts in the specific cases are quite interesting. Now, this was just a broad discussion of one of your cases. And we are not providing a detailed discussion of all your case law. And we're also not providing a tutorial later for you. The reason being that it's more about developing a skill to read case law. So you need to practice, practice, and practice again. Use a technique that I've explained to you. The facts need to be put forward to show there's an issue. Then you need to tell me what is the legal issue that the court's going to have to decide on. It's usually more of a general paragraph, and it should not be more than 1 or 2 lines. And then you take that legal issue or the legal question and you answer it, or you tell us how the court answered the legal question. That's your decision. Now, you have our contact details on the screen before you. Please contact us if you have any questions with your assignment, how it was marked. What we suggest is that you send us the PDF version of your marked document, tell us the issue, and then we'll gladly assist. It's just easier that way, instead of sending an email saying I have an issue with my assignment, that we have something to work with, and you also then get a quicker reply from us. You are now busy with your assignment 2, and we wish you well with completing that assignment. Again, you'll also receive a video like this one as feedback for your assignment 2. We'll also be corresponding more concerning your examination format in the next video, and also using announcements. All of the best for the rest of the semester.